Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most dramatic and game-changing events of the war, a massive attack on the Crimea Bridge that has effectively cut one of Russia's most critical supply lines. The explosion not only caused enormous physical damage, but also sent a clear message to Moscow. Ukraine is striking deep and hard. What happened during this attack? How did Ukraine manage to hit such a heavily defended target again? And what does this mean for the future of the war? Let's get into the full story. Late at night, just before dawn, explosions thundered across the Kerch Strait, lighting up the sky. The Crimea Bridge, stretching from Russia's Krasnodar region to the occupied Crimean Peninsula, was engulfed in flames. Eyewitnesses described multiple blasts, each louder than the last, shaking windows miles away. Within minutes, footage surfaced online, fire tearing through the bridge, vehicles burning, and thick black smoke spiraling upward. The attack was precise and devastating. It wasn't just a symbolic strike, it was a calculated move to cripple Russia's logistics. The Crimea Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, has been a lifeline for Russian forces stationed in southern Ukraine. Since Russia invaded Crimea in 2014, this bridge has become both a physical and political symbol of control. It's how Russia moves troops, fuel, ammunition, and supplies into occupied territories like Kherson, Melitopol, and Zaporizhia. Destroying or disabling, it means isolating Russian forces from the mainland, a logistical nightmare for Moscow. And that's exactly what Ukraine appears to have done. Russian officials were quick to claim the situation was under control, but satellite images and videos told a different story. Multiple spans of the bridge were severely damaged, with parts of the road collapsing into the sea. Traffic was halted immediately, and ferry services were reinstated as a desperate backup. The blast caused chaos not just on the bridge, but across Russia's military supply network. Without the bridge fully operational, Russia faces the immense challenge of resupplying its troops across much longer and more vulnerable routes. This is not the first time the Crimea Bridge has been attacked. A previous explosion months earlier had already damaged the structure, but this new strike appears far more destructive. Analysts say it was a coordinated operation, possibly involving naval drones, aerial strikes, or long-range precision missiles. Ukraine has not officially confirmed responsibility, but officials in Kiev hinted at it, sharing cryptic posts like another sleepless night for the occupiers. The message was clear: Ukraine is not backing down. For Vladimir Putin, this attack is another huge blow. The Crimea Bridge has always been his symbol of success, connecting mainland Russia to Crimea, a region he has called sacred and historically Russian. He personally inaugurated the bridge in 2018, driving across it himself in a truck for the cameras. But now, that same bridge lies shattered. Each new attack on it chips away at his image of strength and control. The destruction also strikes at the heart of Russia's narrative that Crimea is untouchable. As images of the burning bridge spread online, the Kremlin scrambled to respond. Russian media immediately labeled the attack a terrorist act and blamed Ukraine for targeting civilian infrastructure. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, but the extent of the damage was overwhelming. Sections of the bridge were left twisted, blackened, and unusable. Supply trucks backed up for miles, unable to move. The chaos underscored just how dependent Russia has become on this one critical route. The timing of the attack couldn't have been worse for Moscow. Russia's military is already under pressure along multiple fronts, particularly in the south, where Ukraine has launched counteroffensives. Cutting off this supply line adds another layer of difficulty. Without steady supplies of ammunition and fuel, Russian positions in occupied territories could weaken over time. The attack effectively isolates Crimea And that's exactly what Ukraine wants. Western intelligence sources have described this operation as one of Ukraine's most strategically brilliant moves yet. Instead of direct large-scale confrontations, Ukraine is focusing on targeting logistics, communication hubs, and critical supply routes. These precision strikes erode Russia's ability to sustain its occupation. The Crimea Bridge, as one of Russia's most vital arteries, was always a prime target. The success of this attack demonstrates not only Ukraine's growing military capability, but also its confidence in taking on Russia directly. For Ukraine, this is not just about physical damage, it's psychological warfare. The sight of Putin's prized bridge burning again sends a message of defiance to both Russians and Ukrainians. For Russian citizens, it's another reminder that their leadership's promises of security and stability are crumbling. For Ukrainians, it's a symbol of hope, proof that even the most fortified structures can fall. Every successful strike boosts morale and renews belief in eventual victory. Russian reaction was swift and angry. Within hours, missile and drone strikes were launched on Ukrainian cities, targeting infrastructure and power stations. It's a familiar cycle. An attack on a Russian target leads to massive retaliation against Ukrainian civilians. But each time it seems to expose more of Russia's desperation than strength. Military experts argue that Russia's retaliation does little to change the strategic situation. The Crimea Bridge remains damaged, and repairing it will take months, possibly years. Inside Moscow, there is growing unease. Questions are being asked about how such a heavily guarded structure could be hit again despite tightened security. After the first attack, Russia claimed to have installed advanced anti-drone systems and underwater defenses. Yet, somehow, the attackers got through. Some analysts believe the operation may have involved inside knowledge, possibly sabotage, or intelligence leaks from within Crimea itself. Internationally, the explosion has reignited debate about the war's next phase. Western nations largely praised Ukraine's boldness, calling it a legitimate act of self-defense against occupation. NATO allies highlighted how precision strikes like this one demonstrate Ukraine's evolving tactical sophistication. Meanwhile, Russia's allies and neutral countries expressed concern over escalation, fearing that each attack brings the conflict closer to direct confrontation between Russia and NATO-backed Ukraine. Economically, the destruction of the bridge has ripple effects. The Kerch Strait route is vital not only for military logistics, but also for trade and civilian transport. Disruption there affects shipments to and from Crimea, cutting off supplies to local industries and residents. Fuel shortages and rising prices are already being reported across the peninsula. This deepens the strain on Russia's occupied regions and increases local resentment. For Ukraine, timing was everything. Launching this attack, as Russia prepared for renewed offensives in the south, was a calculated move to disrupt their plans. Cutting the supply line forces Russian commanders to rethink logistics, delay operations, and divert resources to repair efforts. It's a slow but powerful form of warfare, one that targets the enemy's ability to sustain itself rather than just its front lines. What makes this event even more significant is its psychological impact on both sides' leadership. In Kiev, the tone was triumphant but cautious. Officials avoided direct claims of responsibility, but made it clear that the operation aligns with Ukraine's strategic goals. In Moscow, however, the mood was tense and defensive. Putin reportedly held emergency security meetings and ordered tighter protection for all key infrastructure, signaling how shaken the Kremlin truly is. As experts analyze the footage, evidence continues to suggest a highly coordinated, multi-phase attack. Some theories point to underwater drones packed with explosives, others to precision, guided missiles launched from a distance. The nature of the damage concentrated under specific bridge sections indicates expert planning. Ukraine's growing mastery of drone warfare, combined with real-time intelligence and Western technology, could explain the success. In Crimea, fear is spreading. Residents who once believed the peninsula was untouchable now feel vulnerable. The bridge explosion has disrupted not only movement but also morale. Many are questioning how safe they really are as the war draws closer. Russian military convoys now rely on ferries and alternate routes, which are slower and easier for Ukraine to target. It's a logistical nightmare that could cripple Russia's southern operations over time. Beyond the battlefield, this event has broader symbolic importance. The Crimea Bridge has long stood as a monument to Russian dominance. Its destruction is not just a military setback, but a symbolic defeat. Each time it burns, it weakens the illusion of permanence that Russia has tried to project over Crimea. For Ukrainians, it's a vision of justice reclaiming what was taken. For Russians, it's a painful reminder that even under Putin's rule, nothing is unbreakable. The aftermath of the blast also raises tough questions for Russian propaganda. How long can they maintain the narrative that everything is under control? When the world sees massive explosions on live footage, it becomes impossible to hide the truth. Public trust in the government's claims continues to erode as more Russians realize that the war is far from being a distant special operation. The conflict has come home in flames. In the weeks to come, Russia will likely attempt to repair the bridge once again, just as they did before. Engineers and construction teams will work around the clock under military protection, but the challenge will be enormous. Structural damage to key support pillars could take months to fix, and every repair effort will hang under the constant threat of another Ukrainian strike. Rebuilding it may become a never-ending process, draining Russian resources and morale. For Ukraine, the success of this attack strengthens its position diplomatically and militarily. It demonstrates to allies that their aid is producing tangible results. Western nations are more likely to continue supplying advanced weapons, knowing that Ukraine can use them effectively. It also sends a message to Russia's remaining allies. Ukraine is not just surviving, it's adapting, advancing, and taking the fight to the enemy's most secure points. Meanwhile, for Putin, the pressure is mounting. The loss of the Crimea Bridge once again highlights flaws in Russia's military command, intelligence, and security systems. Each failure adds to domestic frustration. Pro-war bloggers and analysts in Russia are openly criticizing the leadership, accusing it of incompetence. These voices, once loyal to the Kremlin, are growing louder, and Putin knows that losing the perception of control is just as dangerous as losing territory. Strategically, the attack represents a shift in modern warfare where precision and timing outweigh sheer numbers. Ukraine has mastered the art of targeting high-value assets that carry both tactical and symbolic weight. This is not random destruction, it's calculated psychological warfare. Every explosion shakes Russia's confidence and emboldens Ukraine's spirit. As the world watches, the question remains: how will Russia respond this time? Will it escalate militarily, or will it struggle to contain the fallout of yet another humiliation? Whatever comes next, one thing is certain: the war's dynamics are changing rapidly. Each new strike on the Crimea Bridge brings the world closer to understanding that this conflict is as much about control of narrative as it is about control of land. The massive attack that cut Russia's supply line through the Crimea Bridge will be remembered as a major turning point. It symbolizes Ukraine's resilience and strategic brilliance, and Russia's growing vulnerabilities. While the fire may eventually be extinguished, the political and psychological blaze it ignited will burn much longer. The bridge may be rebuilt, but its repeated destruction has already carved a deep scar into Putin's image of invincibility. As the smoke clears over the Kerch Strait, the message is unmistakable: Ukraine is not only defending itself, it's rewriting the course of this war. The attack on the Crimea Bridge isn't just another strike. It's a declaration that even the strongest symbols of occupation can fall, and that the path to freedom is built not on fear, but on relentless determination.